Well, good morning and welcome to an awakening video. I wanted to make this video, I guess I was prompted by some comments that I'd received, or actually not that I'd received, but that I was reading in response to a comment that I'd made on something, which I'm apt to do from time to time, on social media. And it was regarding the two thought systems, the thought system that's rooted in love and the thought system that's rooted in fear. And I was looking for, in my own mind, and offering something to help this person come to terms with the idea of what the entirety of the thought system was that was rooted in fear, as opposed to the entirety of the thought system of love. Which of course can only be love if it's unconditional. And I couldn't find one in the immediacy of commenting on the post, so I thought I'll sit with it. I'll just let go of it, and it'll come back to me in a way that makes perfect sense, and I'll be able to offer, which I'm now going to try and do through this video. So in looking at the two thought systems, one which you're born into the world with, let's say, as an idea, and let's just for a second accept for the fact that we are born into the world, even though that idea, as you transit through your spiritual process of transformation, that idea you will come to recognize as false, that you never actually were born here and are not here now. But that's a bit of a jump ahead. We'll just start with the basics. So the two thought systems, witnessing to these, to the thinking, this thinking isn't hard. I mean, you only have to turn on a television or a newspaper to see that what's presented as news reports and what would you call it? Common interest or common need to know kind of stuff. It's rooted in fear, it's based in fear, and there's no clearer example of this than the recent pandemic experience. And if you're watching this from the far distant future, I'm talking about the year 2020 to 2022, or 2019 to 2022, when orchestrated or otherwise, the world experienced as an overall conscious marker an idea of pandemic, a disease, a virus that swept the globe. Now, I don't want to get into the particulars of the conspiracy regarding that. I do tend to lean towards the conspiracy theory, the whole world being a conspiracy theory. Why wouldn't it reflect that, right? So, but just the very idea of the coercion and the manipulation that was orchestrated under the auspices of health and well-being and the greater good. And if you don't do this, then you're that. And if you do this, then you're one of us, you're good, and all these sorts of things. And the onus was really put on people on an individual and community level to take on board what the authority of the day was presenting and to go along with it without question. And there were bribes, there was even a lottery in my country, $1 million lottery for those who were vaccinated could enter. I know it gets kind of nutty. But there's no greater example of a fearful thought system than using a situation, manipulated or otherwise, to promote an agenda that serves wealth, serves the world, and serves the idea of the body, which is the symbol of the world, the symbol of denial, and attempts to draw you in through the idea of guilt if you do not participate, or the idea of unworthiness if you do not participate, and sets about to diminish your sense of self-standing within the community. That's a fearful thought system. That's a fearful premise. And for many of us, like myself, however, it was seen as an opportunity to stand in our faith. It was seen as an opportunity to take on board and to represent Jesus's admonition to us that unless a man lives by faith alone, he shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, to all of those who cling to external validation and to external references for their marker points within the framework of the fearful thought system, that's going to be seen as madness. Yet there's a failure to witness, a failure to recognize within that all things in the world come here to die. Planets and stars die, bodies die, little tiny ants and creatures of the earth die, oceans die. And there's a beautiful line in the Course where, A Course in Miracles, if you haven't heard of it, get on Google and Google it up, where Jesus says, give up all hope. Right? Give up all hope. The world is old and tired and without hope. Right? Now, for a mind that's already ascended the continuum and has taken charge of the process of atonement, the process of salvation, and the manipulation or the orchestration, rather, of series of events and circumstances that seem to be circumstances on earth wherein salvation can be presented through the cracks of denial. Here I am representing to you the perfect security and health and peace of mind that comes from serving only the Spirit. So don't be surprised in this world when you find yourself seemingly beset on all sides by the markers of fear, the idols of fear that represent that. Your job is not to be without them, but to be able to walk through them without them having anywhere to cling to you like water off a duck's back. Simply to be in the world but not of it, to be an observer, a passerby. The world will always remain in evidence to represent the idea of denial of unconditional love, because the world is representing a false belief of self, which is the belief that love can be conditional. I love you more than I love you, and I don't love you at all, and I love myself somewhere in that mix, and it's kind of ridiculous. But eventually you kind of have these awakening moments and you see the world for what it is again and again, and you realize that every avenue in the world ends in death again and again. You look at it and you're like, what is the point? Why am I even here? You know? And all of the harbingers of death, all of those who bear the hallmarks of death, will call to you to join them in that lovely cold grave. And you'll be tempted again and again, because familiarity breeds contempt, and contempt is the nature of all things on earth, for yourself, for each other. And it takes quite an effort to flip that over, to reinterpret those attack and defense mechanisms in the human consciousness and have them actually serve a new purpose, which is love and unity. It's easy to say the words, not easy to perform the action, which is why A Course in Miracles has come, and we have the availability of the miracle. Okay, you can't work it out in your head. You need a miracle, and for that you need the prayer of the heart for the healing of the mind that believes it is separate from the whole. So when the witnesses to fear show up, of course the temptation is to evaluate them, to look at them and decide whether what they are saying might have any relevance to you or not. And I doubt very much whether you'll take my word for it that they don't. But regardless, this is an individual awakening, regardless, you're going to evaluate them and look at them and decide where it is you fit in and how it is you're going to participate within the framework of what seems to be offered. But I'm here telling you in no uncertain terms that there is another offering that's being held out through all of those fearful premises to you, salvation. Okay, there is the ability to choose for God. I don't choose immunization or not immunization. I'm choosing for God. I don't choose for this remedy or that remedy. I'm choosing for God. The world cannot tell me who I am, what my worth or value is, unless I allow it to do so. But to do that, I would have to deny that my worth and my value are established by God in my creation as spirit, as the extension of his love, unconditional, worthy, without guilt in any way, shape or form. It was quite an experience to go through that COVID period. If you're watching this from the future, I would imagine that you have many references in history for us past dwellers who are really the here and now dwellers. But I imagine you have many references. We have references of our past, the invasion of Asia and Europe by Genghis Khan, and the rise and fall of Adolf Hitler, and World War I and World War II, and the idea of Pompeii, and in Tibet in recent years, the incredible earthquake there, and all of these natural and man-made cataclysms that reflect nothing but the nature of time and space, and do not hold out within their framework any opportunity for hope and peace and love. Right? Yet hope and peace and love are within you, and you can discover those within you when you start to release the blocks to them, which are built upon the false belief that you are a body in time and space, and that you must be somehow obliging to the particulars of the orchestration of events and circumstances in time and space, because you're one of the participants of time and space. Quite simply, that's not true. You're not a participant of time and space at all. You're a divine being in eternity right now, where you could only ever be, because God is everything and God is formless and created you in its image. You are spirit dreaming a dream of listening to this video, and hopefully remembering something within you that is kindling your own spirit and causing you to question the world as you see it around you, and to withdraw that allegiance and that faith that you've placed on the symbols and the idols of time and space, such as governments and physics and all the things that seem to represent laws here, and are beginning to become unto yourself your own law and your own inner guide in a distant land that fundamentally makes no sense. In the world, but not of it. You're not here to amass riches and wealth and start vast companies. The world is old and tired and without hope, and even now the spent uranium rods of the reactors of in Japan, what was that thing? They're at the core of the earth. You know, they've cut through every waterway. The oceans are polluted. The skies have polyfluorocarbons floating through them. They are polluted. It's only a matter of time. Now, I don't want to sound like the voice of doom and gloom there, because remember, I'm holding out salvation. Forgive the world. Forgive yourself for what you think the world represents in your own mind as an idea of being separate from God and separate from your brothers. And you will see it disappear as if it never was, because it never was. Sounds mystical, doesn't it? But it's true. The world is nothing more than a projection of the mind that believes in the possibilities contained within the potential of time and space, which is a limit between the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end. Right here and right now, we are at the end. This is the end. Not the end of time as such, but the end of a dream of time. If you're hearing me now in this video, and I hope you're listening with both ears open, if you're hearing me now in this video, you are at the end of your human experience. You may not yet have realized it, but I guarantee you that you are. There is no world. Nothing exists. From this point on, you have a spiritual determination. From this point on, your purpose is healing. Your purpose is forgiveness. The way you walk through the world is as an observer, as a passerby, and everything that seems to get in your path is an obstacle representing an opportunity, a catalyst representing an opportunity to forgive yourself for some residue, some part, component, blockage that's preventing communication with the divine within you, that will bring about, when it is open, the total experience of not only the illusory nature of the world, but the truth of yourself as being one with all things, I in he and he in me. It's been an incredible journey, and looking back, it's easy to see how everything played its part perfectly. Everyone and everything, every situation, every catalyst, providing ample opportunity to practice the idea of forgiveness and liberate the mind through the retraining of the perspective of vision from a fearful one to a loving one, including everything in altruistically. Breathe. I've come back into this world for a moment from out of time. I had an experience in time some time ago where I recognized the unreality of the world and realized the truth, and chose to come back into time to represent salvation, to represent a new way, a better way to see yourself and the world through the eyes of Christ, through the eyes of Buddhahood, through the eyes of Krishna consciousness, however you want to look at that as, so that we can begin to drop all the garments of falsity and join each other in this moment, in this beautiful, loving, whole, perfect instant. That is where our divinity lies within us. Oh. Like that. I love you. I hope this makes sense. Nothing else will make sense, I promise you. This may seem hard to wrap your head around at the moment, but the more you investigate anything, the more you become familiar with it and the more it begins to make sense. So get yourself a copy of A Course in Miracles. Join our Zoom meetings if you like. You'll find details of them on my webpage here, on my Facebook page. And find yourself in the front row of your own authorship, of your own experience of self, rather than milling along with the crowd wondering what's going on here, what will the next disaster be, what will it bring, and all of those sorts of things. You're included in salvation. Your name is written in the book of life. All you need to do is claim that it is so, and it will be so. Peace to you.